Hey guys, before we get started, I wanted to tell you about a free resource on the Scrivener Solutions website. We all know that consistency builds trust, but somehow getting on that consistency train can be hard. Finding the time, thinking of what to say. Oh my goodness, believe me, I feel your pain. I get it. I know all too well the struggle. Sometimes we make things way too complicated for ourselves. You don't need a complicated plan to become consistent with your content marketing. Working that consistency muscle by using a super simple content plan will give you a big win, and you can build upon that. We have a free resource to help you. Go over to scrivenersolutions.com/checklist and download the super simple strategy to jumpstart consistent content creation checklist. Yes, it's a long name, but all you have to remember is scrivenersolutions.com/checklist, and you can get that instant download. Get started on the right foot and make the commitment to consistency. Other things will follow, but consistency really does matter. Start super simple and download the checklist at scrivenersolutions.com/checklist. All right, now onto the show. Hi, I'm Gayla Scrivener, ex-corporate girl and now work-from-anywhere adventure seeker. Creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle isn't without its challenges, but those challenges certainly don't overshadow all the many benefits. What breaks my heart is seeing folks stuck and unhappy in a career and lifestyle when they want more out of life. I believe that we all have the opportunity to create the life of our dreams and earn a living in fun and creative ways to make our dream lifestyle a reality. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. In this weekly podcast, I share experiences when it comes to growing a lifestyle business through guest interviews, content marketing experience and perspectives, virtual leadership lessons, and I'll even throw in some travel adventures. My hope is through all the interviews, the tips, advice, and personal experience, you'll be inspired and motivated to keep going and creating your dream lifestyle. Life's an adventure. There's no time but the present to live life to the fullest. Hey there, and welcome to today's show. I am super excited for you to meet my guests for the next 2 interviews coming up this month. Their recordings happened to be scheduled on the same day, and it wasn't until I was prepping for the second interview that I realized that both conversations happened to be different perspectives and journeys around the subject of networking. So that got me thinking. Why not have this month be a series all about networking and how it can build your business? So, next week, you're going to meet Greg Peters, the reluctant networker. And toward the end of the month, you'll be meeting Kat Williams, founder of Courageous Business Connect. But to start off the networking series, I'd like to share how face-to-face networking jump-started my work-from-anywhere business. Let me share a little bit about how face-to-face networking really jump-started my work-from-anywhere business. Let's go way back when I started my business in 2012. The number one thing that I instinctively knew was I needed to meet new people. You see, the only people I knew back then were in the medical field. And I had been in the medical industry for 20 years. And I felt like I was starting at zero in my network. And really I was starting over at that time. I didn't want to be in the medical field anymore. And to be quite honest, I was really at a loss and a bit scared of where to find my first clients. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. Back then, I discovered the profession. I did some online searching thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? I don't want to get another job in the medical field. And I really wanted to start my own business. Other than knowing that I could use my experience in all the admin stuff that I did in the medical field to help small businesses, I could translate what I did in the medical offices to a small business. I really didn't know, though, what it meant to grow a business. But as I said, instinctively, I knew I needed to meet new people who had nothing to do with the medical field. My close friends and family were not my ideal client. All of them, or for the most part, worked the traditional 9 to 5. They kind of thought that we were a little bit crazy. Robert and I were a little bit crazy moving into an RV and trying to figure out how to live a lifestyle with more freedom and not tied down geographically. But heck, at the time, I truly didn't even know exactly what my ideal client looked like. I really didn't. And I think that is the case for a lot of us, right? It's like you're supposed to figure out your ideal avatar before you even get started. Well, I didn't do that. I just knew I didn't want to work in the medical field anymore. And all I knew is that I wanted to help small business owners. So I needed to hang out where small business owners hung out. It sounds simple, right? But when I first started with this business concept of becoming a virtual assistant, I was doing some research online as to where to find jobs. And there are places like becoming a freelance provider for places like Fiverr and Upwork. Well, I quickly found out that was not my scene. That just wasn't for me. It was too transactional and not personal. And I just didn't like the whole setup, either finding services or being a provider and providing services for others. I just didn't like this experience at all. Now, I know it works for thousands and thousands of other people, but it was just not for me. So what happened was I was left figuring out where to meet people, where to network, and finding a networking group to get started in meeting new people, meeting small business owners. Okay, I'm going to stop right here. You may be wondering if we could work from anywhere and we were trying to set our lifestyle up to be nomadic. Why on earth would I want to even mess with even searching for a face-to-face networking group? Well, I had to be, what a friend of mine says, be scrappy. Without clients, there would be absolutely no way to create the lifestyle that Robert and I really wanted. Things come in phases, and my first mission was to meet new people. Now, with hindsight being 20/20, as it always is, I should have started creating my network before my day job ended. But I didn't. I was too consumed with that day job that I did not carve out any time to truly get my business started and underway before the company closing date arrived. I don't have regrets on that. Like I said, things come in phases. So a good thing that came out of that, even though I was focused on that day job and closing down that company for my employer, we did go through a lifestyle change. We sold everything that we had and we ended up beginning to live small and moved into our RV full time. And that was a perfect opportunity to do that as we were ramping down that company that I worked for. Like I said, I don't have regrets, but I advise other folks to certainly, if you're thinking about doing your own thing, do it on the side first and try to build your network outside of your normal day job. And that will get your footing a lot better when you're ready to leave your day job. For my story, my corporate job officially ended, and we were already living in our RV full-time for several months as I tied up loose ends with that old corporate job, and we were traveling around. We migrated back to Southwest Missouri because we had family close by and we could figure out what we could do next. I began perusing the local networking scene, and I was trying to find some sort of business groups that would be good for me to join in the Southwest Missouri area. I looked at local chambers of commerce, BNI chapters, and I was just kind of teetering. Where would I fit in? And I really never considered myself a networker. I just felt at the time, it's like, I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm doing, and I just know that I need to be where where my ideal client would be, where small businesses would be. Again, with this hindsight, I already had experience in networking for many, many years. Yes, I was in the medical field. Yes, I had different jobs, but I had these different positions working for different clinics and large organizations. And you have to network. You go to different departmental meetings. You go and meet other folks from different clinics. There are professional organizations that you can reap the benefits of other people's experience. But I didn't think about it that way. I didn't think that I was ever networking. It just became one of those things. It was like, oh yeah, I'm working and I'm meeting new people at a different clinic. I never, call me slow. I don't know, but I had this hang up when I was starting Scrivener Solutions that is like, okay, this is different. This type of business networking opportunities seems a little forced and a little awkward. Robert and I visited a small town arts and craft fair, and at that fair, I struck up a conversation with a lady that had a booth. And through that conversation, she asked me what I did for a living. And that was probably the first time that I had the opportunity to say, hey, I'm a business owner. I own Scrivener Solutions. So that was the first time that I've ever introduced myself in that new identity. Well, through that conversation, she mentioned a networking group that she belonged to. And side note, I think it's just amazing how opportunities just present themselves just at the very time that you need them most. She was the one who initiated the invitation for her networking group, and that's when I acted. I wrote down the network name on a napkin intending to take action. I was nervous, but I did take action. When I got back to our home base, I began to research my scribbles on that napkin that I had. The professional networking group had many chapters in the area and looked like hundreds of business owners. Great! I knew in my gut that I needed to check it out, so I did. But checking it out didn't make me feel any less nervous. I'm such an introvert. One side of my brain was so reluctant in going because it's not that I don't like people. I just feel so drained when it comes to larger groups, and I didn't really know what to expect, so I was nervous. But I rationalized with myself and convinced myself that attending one of those meetings isn't any different than attending a department meeting, just like I was just hired. I was tricking my mind a little bit. I had that mindset that I never networked before, and it switched for me that wasn't true at all. Meeting new people and understanding what they do helped me in getting the overall job done in the organization of my old life, whether that person was inside or outside of that organization. And I know that when I was young and going through those department meetings, I would be nervous just like I was when I was starting Scrivener Solutions, but over time it became easier. Probably primarily, most of the time in later meetings, I'd know most of the people in the room. So I just had to suck it up and just do something new. Going to this professional networking group shouldn't have been very different, and I just swallowed my nervousness. Logically, I knew being at the infancy stage of my business, I was going to be nervous. I felt like I didn't know anyone, and really, I didn't. I had to get over myself and get over my introverted ways and just try out this networking group that I scribbled on that napkin. I went to that meeting one Thursday morning, and you know what? I felt awkward. I really felt awkward, and I didn't want to be there. I felt out of place. Was it because the group made me feel that way? No, not at all. There were a few individuals who welcomed me with open arms to the meeting as I arrived. That was a great thing. It was all just new to me, and I found the whole structure of the meeting odd. So it felt awkward because it was just new. It was a structured way of meeting other business owners, learn what they do, and figure out who you could refer to them. I was certainly not used to those kinds of meetings in my medical field background. I chose my next adventure of creating my own business, and I came to the conclusion that this type of networking was better suited for me than getting little jobs here and there from places like Fiverr. So I pushed through my feelings of awkwardness and returned a second time. And that time I filled out an application to join the group. I was intended to make the commitment for the whole year, for the whole next year. And at a minimum, I repeat, at a minimum, I was committed to show up at each and every meeting. Now, I'm glad I pushed through my reluctance and made that commitment. I ended up being a member for, goodness, if memory serves, about 5 years. I became very active and involved in the group and came to know many people, some of which I still keep in contact with and I'm honored to call my friends. Now, through this experience, this early on experience, these were the lessons that I learned that helped me jumpstart my online business. First is attendance. A form of participation is just simply showing up. For that group, and any other group I've joined since, I carefully decide before joining if I can make the commitment to show up to all of the meetings. I made the investment to pay the dues. The least I could do was show up. I blocked the meeting time in my schedule as a recurring event, and all other things were arranged around it. When Robert and I were traveling for weeks at a time, I made arrangements for a sub to fill in for me. And that was part of the attendance rules, that you could have a sub pop in for you. It wouldn't be counted against you as an absence. But if you're not there on a consistent basis and you have subs going for you all the time, then it's less effective, right? You don't meet those key connections. People don't recognize who you are. The mere fact of showing up consistently puts a nugget in folks' mind that you can be depended on. The second thing that I learned and that I did very quickly was to participate. In that group, and most groups for that matter, there are officers or committees. And I quickly became an officer of the chapter I joined. People began to know me in that role, and I could showcase how working with me, just naturally showcase how working with me could be like. It was another way of getting to know people as I created systems to follow up with potential members. People came to me because of my role, and that was pretty cool. And I would help them any way I could, get to know them, and in turn, they'd get to know me. Referrals would come out of that. Teachings would come out of that. A lot of things. So the third thing that I learned from all of this experience is observation. And what I mean by this, with meeting many individuals in many different types of businesses and showing up regularly, like all the time, I was able to figure out what types of businesses and types of jobs I wanted to take on in my newly created business that would create the lifestyle that I truly wanted. More importantly, with this observation, I was able to figure out what types of clients and personalities I did not want to work with. So there was a lot of self-reflection during this process of figuring out how I wanted to run my business and how I wanted to be seen in that space by observing good and undesirable behaviors of how others run their business, who were in that networking group. I think it's an important aspect of belonging to a group. Observation. No judgment, just observing others' perspectives, how they do things in their business or personally, professionally, helping them out wherever you can, but just simply observe as well and absorb information for your own personal and professional growth. Now, I know all too often people will join a group and quickly determine that, hey, it's not for them, and they bail out too soon. being an officer in that group, I was committed and I was going to fulfill my, I guess you call it the obligation. I paid my dues for a year. I was going to be committed for year by year. Far too often, people would come in, pay their dues, and then they were a no-show. And then they wondered why. It's like, well, it's not for me. They never gave it a chance. They never gave it a chance. And then if they saw that it's like, oh, well, this takes a lot of time and I'm not getting a lot of referrals. Well, it's maybe because you're focused too much on that sale and not building the relationship that could build your business in a bigger way. They weren't using the observation. They weren't being committed. So, of course, the group is not going to do anything for them. Say they bailed too soon. They did not give it a good go. They pay the dues, maybe have spotty attendance, and then determine that they aren't getting the rate of return they're looking for. So when you join a group, go all in and be committed for that time frame that you are signed up for, whether it's 6 months or a year, and just be all in and at the minimum, show up. Indeed, though, as you evolve and your business evolves, you may choose to network in different ways. But certainly when you pay those dues, making that commitment to show up, participate, even in a small way, and open your mind to observing and opening your mind to making new friends over closing a sale at each meeting, you do reap long-term benefits. Now, I left that professional networking group a few years ago, but you know what? Because of my involvement, for at least 2 years after I left, I'd get calls from people needing help and was thinking I was still a member. Now, building an online business doesn't mean that face-to-face networking isn't important. You won't meet all of the people that will become your clients online. Most of my, if not all of my top clients, I've met in person. Now, with the pandemic throwing a wrench in everyone's life, actually, what good came out of it was that many were shaken up to think of different ways to network. Even though I was used to Zoom, most of the people that I networked with really didn't. It seemed like the vast population was in the dark about that technology. Even if they did know about it, they avoided it. So although Zoom allowed so many people to still conduct business and virtually to keep people connected and working, that was fantastic. But as soon as we could have face-to-face meetings again, you know what? Many of us are ready to jump at the chance for that live human interaction. Because as humans, for the most part, we are social creatures. It drives us nuts to be so isolated. Yes, even those of us who claim to be extreme introverts are social creatures. I was ready to get back into the live networking game. Now, like I said, I left that networking group after about 5 years of being in business because I began to network a little bit differently. I focused on a small group mastermind and going to key live events. And as with everybody else in 2020, I pretty much didn't see anyone except on Zoom. So if you're just starting out and building your business online, I encourage you to get out from behind your computer and do some in-person networking. You know, we can do that again now. So get away from that computer screen. Even if you've been in business a while and haven't networked intentionally in a live setting, it's time. Especially if you're trying to scale your business. Every step of the way in your business, if you're ready to scale, you need to ramp up that and really meet new people, shake things up in your network and challenge yourself. Building your network is an important piece of scaling your business. Alrighty, I'll wrap things up now. Now, I could chat away more about me getting over my reluctancy of networking and tell you more examples of the ups and downs of participating in a professional networking group. but I'll save that for another time. Next week, don't forget to join me to hear all about another introvert's networking journey, the original reluctant networker, and that's Greg Peters. By the way, if you're a branding consultant and don't want to manage a whole bunch of employees or independent contractors, yet you want to have recurring income from your clients, well, let's talk. Scrivener Solutions offers white label content marketing services. You concentrate on creating the branding and marketing plan for your clients and let the Scrivener Solutions team help you implement your plan. Go over to scrivenersolutions.com/white label to find out more details about how you can tap into our experience and our systems to create recurring income for your branding consultancy. Again, go to scrivenersolutions.com/white label and schedule your call. Well, thanks for listening. Until next time, have a fantastic week.